Hey guys, welcome back to Carsonian Beans. Today we're going to be doing NFL Week 15 score predictions. Is anyone else getting hyped for the playoffs? I think I've said that like all of my videos of these past couple weeks, but I really am starting to get hyped because my team, the Washington football team, is looking, primed to make the playoffs. So I'm actually, for the first time in a while, actually really, hyped. I'm always really hyped about it, but this year I have something special to root for because my team's going to be in there and is going to be 1-out. But still, I'm pretty excited, yeah, I will keep on making score predictions. Like I'll make a wild card round prediction in the divisional and conference, and of course I'll predict the Super Bowl. I'll probably do a whole preview for that. And let's go ahead and get started. Thursday Night Football, Raiders versus Chargers. The Raiders have been on a rough stretch these past couple of weeks. Really, all three of their last 3 weeks have all been pretty bad. I know they beat the Jets, but that was we've talked about that a lot, and that is that they really underperformed in that game. They really should not have let the Jets get that close. The Chargers underperformed last week against the Falcons, in my opinion. I know they got the win, but I thought this would be a chance for Justin Herbert to shine if then they go out there and get this win. But then Anthony Lynn just had to, look terrible, and they barely got the win on a team that, in my opinion, they should have destroyed. And no, I'm not even a Chargers fan. I'm not. I just honestly thought that they could have done better in that game. I thought this would be a game where Justin Herbert looked good. But they did get a win, and they did look, not too terrible, but they underperformed in my opinion. But anyways, Raiders against the Chargers. This one should be a pretty good divisional matchup between two teams that are very offensive focused. However, looking at the Raiders, I definitely think that Gruden is a lot, 1,000 times better than the Land ever has been. Not ever has been, but is right now. And the Raiders, their offense, they've got Darren Wells, they've got Derek Carr. They do have a lot of pieces on that offense that make them pretty explosive. Meanwhile, the Chargers, it's really all about Justin Herbert, and he's been playing pretty well. I think he's had 1 or 2 off games, but he's a rookie. You can expect those kind of things. But in my team, I think the Raiders, I think both of these teams are similar teams, but I think the Raiders have a much better offense, so therefore I'm going to give them the win. Definitely could see the Chargers pulling off an upset here, but in my opinion, I think the Raiders get this win and hopefully start to turn things back on track as they are, in a position to make a run to the playoffs. Next up, Broncos against the Bills. The Broncos, Drew Lock looked really, really good last week. He looked like one of the best quarterbacks right now. Of course, that was just last week. The Broncos all really played up to their potential. In my opinion, their defense underperformed, though. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, they stomped all over the Panthers. It was a close game. It was really decided by a punt return for a touchdown. They didn't play too amazingly. Meanwhile, the Bills went and gave the Steelers their second loss in a row in that great game where their defense absolutely demolished the Steelers, and that offense was able to get going some. And, the Bills, they've looked like one of the best teams in the league, and they are, in my opinion, I think they're Super Bowl contenders. I think they'll show it in this game. It's a Saturday game, and I think it'll be a pretty bad game, 28-23. I definitely think if the Broncos play the way they played last week, they definitely do have a chance at, pulling a magical upset win over the Bills. I don't actually think they're out of the playoff race yet, which is crazy. I think there might be one scenario. I think everything has to go right, and they can possibly sneak in at 8-8. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think this will definitely officially eliminate them with a 28-23 loss to the Bills. And another game on Saturday, because we finally get in Saturday games. Another game on Saturday that isn't going to be a very good one in my opinion. You have the Panthers, whose defense really underperformed last week. We've seen that kind of shine the weeks prior to that, and then last week it didn't really look too good. Meanwhile, their offense did actually play pretty well. At this point, I don't even know if they're getting Christian McCaffrey back. They always say they are, and then they don't. And so I'm just going to assume that they're not going to have them in this game. If they do, it'll be a lot closer, but no matter what, I do think the Packers will get the win, 35-26. If Christian McCaffrey is in there, you can expect something around, 35-30, 31 or something. But as of right now, I think the Panthers get a pretty bad loss, and they're not out of the playoffs yet either. I think they're 4-9. I think they do still have a chance at that, 7th seed. Panthers, they do have something to play for. Here's what I always say. I don't care how bad you are. If you're not eliminated from the playoffs yet, there's no need in tanking. I know they're probably, like the Broncos, there's probably only one scenario in which the Panthers make it into the playoffs. I don't think they should tank. Unless there is no chance for them to make the playoffs, and then I could kind of understand it. But still, a lot of people are trying to say the Panthers and the Broncos, those teams should just try to lose. These are easy games to lose. If they win these, it'll just make them look bad in the draft. But in my opinion, I think, if there is a small chance that you can, make some kind of magical move over these next 3 weeks and make it into the playoffs, even if it has to have 3 ties happen in 1 week or something, I would still go for it. I don't think you should ever tank, but unless you're like the Jets or something and you're fighting for that first seed. Next up, Colts against the Texans. The Colts actually didn't. I mean, they blew out the Raiders last week. They completely demolished them. I think it was 44-27, a complete beatdown. And then actually the week before that, it was a rematch. It was Colts versus Texans, and now just 2 weeks later, we're seeing this again. I don't much like this. The NFL's been doing this a lot lately, where they've taken teams and they made them play like twice in 4 weeks, twice in 3 weeks. I think they should space these divisional matchups up. I like to see, a team play in week 4 and then a team play in week 8 or something. I know it's not that far, but I think that's about as close as it should be. Like you see, like Washington. I know I'm a Washington fan, which is why I'm bringing this up. But Washington plays the Eagles in week 1, and they play them in week 17. These teams have changed a lot, and I like to see that. I like the teams go at each other multiple times, spread out, so we can actually see, how much they've changed. Maybe the outcome will be completely different. But the Colts against the Texans looked woefully bad last week, 36-7 destruction by the Bears. That being said, the Texans looked good when they played the Colts 2 weeks ago. In my opinion, I think that they really came close to actually winning that game. I think it was 26-20, and a bad fumble cost them the game. I do think they are getting Will Fuller back. I don't think that'll affect the score that much. I'm going to give it a 5-point Colts win instead of a 6-point win as it was last time, but that means absolutely nothing. The Texans get a loss. They're already eliminated from the playoffs, but this will just push them farther down. Sorry, Texans. It's looking rough right now. Next up, Titans against the Lions. The Lions, their offense actually looked pretty good last week. They were going against that Packers defense that hasn't been playing too well. But in my opinion, I do think it overperformed last week. They managed to keep it close with the Packers. They managed to score 24 points, which is a lot better than what you can say for the weeks before that. They have been playing as one of the worst offenses in the league, in my opinion, and then they bounced back last week. That looked pretty good. And then look at the Titans, at 31-10 beatdown of the Jaguars. It looked really, really good. Derrick Henry had one of his best games so far this season. He looked like an absolute monster. The Titans in general just played really, really good football, only allowing 10 points and scoring 31 of their own. And I think that'll continue into this game, and it'll be 31-20. This is another situation where the Titans have something to fight for and the Lions don't. And the Lions could, if their offense plays like they did last week and their defense just really steps it up. But again, you can say about any team. You could say, if the Jets, if their offense and defense step it up like crazy, they could win this game. Then I think the Jets, I think the Lions at this point, they're going to lose by 11. I just don't see this being a good game. Next up, Vikings Bears. This one should be a good game. It was the last time they played, and now it's a rematch, and the Bears actually got a really nice win against the Texans, 36-7. Looked really good in that one. The Vikings, they actually looked a lot better than the score shows. They went against the Buccaneers, who are a really tough team to beat, and they only... Well, okay, look. So you might see this and you can go, they lost by 12, but their offense played well enough to where they should have scored 24. If you don't understand, that's because Dan Bailey missed 4 kicks and ended up leaving 10 points on the board. So the Vikings offense went out there and played a 24-point game, but Dan Bailey missed 3 field goals and a extra point, which is rough. I don't think he made a single kick that game. I think the Vikings got a touchdown and a touchdown with a 2-point conversion to get the 14 points. I think the Vikings have actually kind of improved since the Bears game, but that being said, to the Bears, I think this will be a very, very close game. However, I think it'll be closer than last time. However, just looking at, apart from last week, I don't want to overreact from 1 week, but the Bears' offense has been playing terribly, horribly, for really, all but 3 of their games thus far, and I think that is going to continue. A lot closer than last time, but I do still think the Vikings get a win here, 28-27. The Vikings aren't out of things yet. They are still in the thick of it. It's weird because, back in Week 8, I wasn't even mentioning the playoffs, so now, of course, it's like, they're still in the things. Both of these teams, really, I think they're both 6-7. This is actually a really, really big playoff game. This is a conference divisional game, and they're going at it, and in my opinion, I think this is definitely the most important game of the Vikings' rest of the stretch, because not only are they division rivals, but right now they are both vying for probably the same playoff spot. So even if they weren't in the same division, it would still be a very important playoff game. Next up, Washington against the Seahawks. This one actually should be pretty close. We saw last week Washington's offense just could not get anything going. Dwayne Haskins was in for the whole second half, and that basically killed their whole offense. But their defense went out there, got 2 touchdowns on defense, and would not allow the 49ers to get anything done done. This Washington defense seems to get better every single week. Chase Young had a monster game. That being said about Washington, the Seahawks went out there and their offense completely bounced back from 2 weeks ago against the Giants, and they scored 40 points and they only allowed 3. Both of these teams had a pretty good defensive game. In my opinion, I think the Seahawks had a really good offensive game. I definitely think this could be a trap game. I definitely think this could be a game where Washington goes in there and pulls off the upset, kind of like the Giants did. In my opinion, I think Washington is better than the Giants, so I definitely think that's a possibility. That being said, the Seahawks, one of the better teams in the league, definitely playoff bound, still fighting for the division spot. And I don't think I really have to talk about it for much longer. I definitely think the Seahawks will get the win here. I think it'll be a lot closer than people are expecting, only a 3-point win for the Seahawks. If Washington does get this win, though, I think there's a high chance they win out. Washington, my team, plays the Seahawks, and they play the Panthers and the Eagles. So I think if Washington wins this game, we could see an NFC East team go 9-7, which, as much as we bash the NFC East, myself included, I've talked some trash about NFC East teams, including Washington, we could see a pretty formidable foe for any. I mean, we could possibly see an NFC East winner win a playoff game. Now, I think that's about as far as I go. I don't think, any of the NFC East teams could win 2 playoff games, but we definitely could see them win 1. Who knows? It's a long shot. Anyways, Dolphins against the Patriots. The Dolphins have been looking really, really well. Meanwhile, the Patriots have been kind of flopping. Well, they've been off and on. I mean, we saw 2 weeks ago beat the Chargers 45-0. Last week, I think it was like 24-10, 24-14. I don't know. It was a pretty bad loss. Both of these teams in the same division. The Patriots, for the first time in 11 years, will not win the AFC East. They have been officially, we've all kind of known it for a while now, but it is official now. The Patriots it is mathematically impossible for the Patriots to win the AFC East. However, they're still, they are still fighting for the playoffs. That is definitely still possible. It is a long shot, but still, I think both of these teams will have I think it'll actually be a pretty good game. That being said, the Dolphins' offense has been a lot better. We saw it hang in there with the Chiefs last week, and we saw what happened to the Broncos after they hung in it with the Chiefs 2 weeks ago. They went and beat the Panthers up, and I think the Dolphins do the same thing to the Patriots. 28-23 win, and continue their fight for the playoffs. Next up, Ravens Jaguars. The Ravens, monstrous game offensively last week. Their defense didn't do too well, allowing 42 points. I know a lot of people are going to say how well they played, but really you also have to look at that defense. That defense went out there and they allowed 42 points. That doesn't look good at all. They did get a safety, but that was, when they were doing laterals and stuff at the end of the game. Doesn't really matter. The Ravens, though, they did go out there. They scored 45 offensive points. I think it's 45 offensive. I don't know if they got an interception for a touchdown. I don't know. I only watched the last quarter. I was too busy doing other stuff. The Jaguars, on the other hand, got completely beaten by the Titans 31-10. It was a rough game. I don't think I have to explain this much longer. It was almost my lock of the week. After the last week, I think the Ravens are on a hot streak right now, 35-21. If the Ravens can keep this up, if the Ravens can play in the rest of the weeks that they did last week or even remotely near that, I definitely think that we will see a Ravens team that can possibly, could go far in the playoffs. And all the people are saying that they think there may be, a wild card team that goes one and done, but the Ravens are looking pretty dangerous after last week. I'd be scared for any wild card team that has to play them. Meanwhile, the Jaguars, this is a team, I know I said I don't like it when teams tank. If I was a Jaguars GM, if I was a Jaguars team, I would want to tank. Because y'all need to tank and y'all need the Jets to win. Next up, Falcons against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, they got a nice win against the Vikings. Really, in my opinion, I think they underperformed. I think they had a chance to go out there and completely dominate, and they really didn't. Like I was talking about, Dan Bailey missed 4 kicks, left 10 points on the board. That being said, they did beat them by 12. It wasn't, they looked pretty good doing it. They bounced back. The Falcons, they got a rough loss against the Chargers. Their defense played a lot better than I thought it would. The Falcons defense has looked dangerous over these past couple weeks, so the Buccaneers better be wary. They could be falling into a trap game against a team that's been eliminated from the playoffs. I know I'm mentioning the playoffs a lot here, and I'm sorry, but it's just on my mind right now. My whole life basically is football, and now the big attraction is upcoming. But in my opinion, I think the Buccaneers will get a win here, 27-21. Like I said, I think it could be a trap game, which is why I have it being pretty close, because I don't want to be completely embarrassed by having the Buccaneers win by 13 and then having the Falcons win by 3 or something. But I do think the Buccaneers will get a win, and I think they'll go to 9-5. I don't know. Next up, Cowboys against the 49ers. 49ers, rough game offensively last week. Of course, they were going up against the monster that is Washington's defense. Their defense, though, actually played really, really good, especially in the second half. Not really allowing Dwayne Haskins to do anything. It was a bunch of 3-and-outs. The 49ers defense looked really, really good. Meanwhile, the Cowboys also looked really good, especially defensively. I think they had like 3 fumbles in the first half. They forced 3 fumbles in the first half, sorry. The Cowboys offense couldn't generate much. It's kind of the opposite of what we've seen. We've seen the Cowboys offense running, especially that running game, try to carry them and kind of fail, and their defense has, we've seen that Cowboys offense carry them. But this game, it failed. I am so sorry, I can't talk. It was kind of the opposite of what we've seen. Their defense that has been their weak spot was all of a sudden their biggest strength. And now if they can come into this game and saying, all right, we've seen how good our offense can play. We've seen how good our defense can play. Can we do both of those? I don't think they can. I think the 49ers get the win here. But if their defense can play like they played last week, and if their offense can step it up a bit, this could definitely be a Cowboys win. But in my opinion, I think the Cowboys lose here. I think they get eliminated from playoff contention, and that's that. And yes, if they lose this week, they will be eliminated because then their best will be 3-10. No, their best will be 6-10. Sorry, their best will be 6-10, and Washington's worst is 6-10. And Washington beat them twice. Washington holds a tiebreaker, so there is no way that they are above Washington, and so they will be eliminated from their division. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling as I was trying to figure out how to switch to the next one. Next up, Cardinals versus Eagles. The Cardinals, both of these teams played really good games. Eagles, especially in that first half, shut out that Saints offense. Taysom Hill, though, wasn't playing too well, so that also contributed to it. Cardinals, though, went up against a Giants team, overpowered that pretty good defense, and really let the Giants offense self-destruct. A lot of people like to talk about how good the Giants are, but it's really all defense. The Giants offense has been one of the worst in the league, and I don't know why no one's, acknowledging that. But the Cardinals, they have a pretty good chance here against the Eagles, a rookie quarterback, and yeah, I know they had a pretty good win against the Saints, but I would not overreact too highly from that. I definitely still think the Eagles will lose. However, there is still a chance that the Eagles come out here, they get a win, they go to 5-8-1, and we see what happens after that. But the Eagles, this is definitely a chance for the Eagles to show what they're made of. This will be a huge statement win. People are calling it, oh, wow, what a surprise. They managed to beat the Saints last week. If they manage to beat the Cardinals, people are going to start talking about the Eagles more. And people are going to say, wow, was that not a fluke? Meanwhile, the Cardinals, they have a chance to get back into this playoff thing. I know that they're still in the playoff picture, but they're in a dangerous spot right now. They are on the bubble, and they need to get a couple wins here at the end of the season to really, cement their spot. Next up, Rams against the Jets. This one's really no question here. I'm not even really going to talk about the Jets. Scored 3 points and allowed 40 last week. Now, the Rams went out there and played a really good game of football against a Patriots team. So, yeah, and in fact, it's a 21-point win. I'm going to put it as my lock of the week. Pretty easy there. Sorry if you can hear my chair squeaking as I lean back. At some point, if you're wondering what I hope to do eventually, I hope to get like a face cam and put it like up here, because I always have like Thursday Night Football stuff over here. I hope to get a better computer, because this computer was a gift from like 2015 that barely works at all, and I hope to get like a camera, and I like to put my face up here, and have a much better system than this. Maybe get someone to maybe like Photoshop it for me, so I don't have to sit here and I don't want to be using Google Slides in like 2 years. But who knows? Who knows what happens? I might make a full video just talking about like my future and stuff, but I might do that like at 1,000. Next up, Saints against the Chiefs. Saints offense did not look good last week, especially in that first half. Taysom Hill, woeful game, really. He has had, maybe 1 or 2 good games since he started, but other than that, really, he's been playing pretty atrociously. Now, the Chiefs keep on cutting it close. They keep on going up against teams that they really should beat and just barely losing. Sorry, that they should destroy and just barely winning. I cannot talk, and I'm sorry. I'm very tired. That the Chiefs, in my opinion, I think this could be a pretty good game. I think the Saints could get a win here. They are fighting for the number 1 seed in the NFC. I don't think Drew Brees is going to be in this one. I think he's supposed to be in by playoff time. I think if Taysom Hill is playing in the Saints' first playoff game, you can basically count them out. But if Drew Brees is back in, this could be, a great story. Drew Brees breaks some ribs when he's really old and he comes back, leads his team pretty deep into the playoffs. But in my opinion, I don't think anyone's going to argue with this. I think the Chiefs get a pretty nice win against the Saints. That being said, if Drew Brees is back in, because I think one of the biggest problems with the Saints offense right now is Taysom Hill being a pretty bad quarterback. He's good at moving around, he's good at running, but quarterbacking is not necessarily his biggest skill, which is weird to say because that is his position. But the Chiefs, they've been playing really great football, and I think that continues in this game. 38-27 win, as long as Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw 3 more interceptions. By the way, I decided to mention, a lot of people are saying that he's bad now because he threw 3 interceptions. The fact that we're all freaking out because he threw 3 interceptions, because he never does, just shows how good he is. And I'm not even a Patrick Mahomes fan. I don't like him. I think he's a cocky, kid. I don't much like him. I'm sorry. I don't like you. I'm sorry, Patrick Mahomes, if you're watching this video. I'm not a big fan of you. That's why people call me biased when I put Lamar Jackson as the best player in the league. It makes me look pretty stupid right now, because if you know what I'm talking about, early in the season I was best player at every position, and overall I had Lamar Jackson, and now I'm feeling really, really dumb about that. Next up, Giants against the Browns. The Giants defense has been playing really well, and yeah, they got blew out last week, but their defense didn't play bad. Their defense was not the reason they lost. It was mainly their offense, which has been the problem all season. People don't really realize that the Giants offense has been playing pretty badly. They're going up against a team that's defense really didn't play too well last week. The Browns defense, it allowed 47 points, really 45. They only managed to score, they managed to score 42. That's a good part. The Browns offense managed to go out there and score 42 points. That's pretty good. And going against the Giants defense, I think they'll be able to, continue that success. I don't think they'll be able. By that, I mean I think they'll be able to score, 30 points against this Giants defense that has been pretty good because of how well that offense is. I'm not making any sense, am I? Meanwhile, that Browns defense has not been the best, but they're going up against the Giants offense that has been atrocious. At this point, I don't even know who's starting. Is it Colt McCoy or is it Danny Dimes? Daniel Jones, that's his name. In my opinion, I think it's a really good matchup for the Browns, and I think they get a win here, 36-20, a 16-point game. Pretty close to being this game. It was between this game, the Rams Jets games, and the Ravens Jaguars games to be my lock of the week, but I ended up just making it the Rams Jets. But this one was actually pretty close. Next up, Bengals. This was also one that was pretty close. The Bengals Steelers. Actually, I would say it was probably second. If I had to put lock runner-up of the week, which makes no sense, but if I had to do something like that, this would be it. I'm sorry I'm making no sense, but the Bengals against the Steelers, I don't know anything I'll have to talk about it. I think the Steelers get a pretty good bounce-back game here, an 18-point win, and the Bengals continue trying to get that first overall pick yet again. I'm sorry that I've been stumbling through my words, but the video is finally over. Like I said, I'm insanely tired. I don't know why, but I am very, very tired and I'm very, very thirsty. And thank you guys all so much for watching. I post NFL content every single day unless I'm, just lazy or I'm busy or something. I don't know. Go follow all my stuff in the description, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.